Well, hello and welcome to Exploited Crimes and Technology. My name is Opal Singleton, and we come to you every Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock right here on AM 590, The Answer. The last show of 2022. Happy New Year to all of us. I am looking forward to 2023. It has got to be better than what we went through in 2022. Having said that, there were many good things that happened in our lives in 2022, and this is a time for introspection, and I suspect you all are too. Looking back at all that happened and looking forward to all that you really hope happens. And it's a very special time of year and the last day of the year as you kind of take inventory, and some things are good and some things not so good. And some things are like really, really exciting and some things are terrifying. And it's one of those things, time is so fleeting, and the older you get, the more you know that. I just honestly believe that every day you wake up is a great day. It's that simple. And you look around and see all the good things that have happened, and you're excited for the people. And then you see other people who have had a very hard time or experienced a tremendous amount of crime or financial loss, and your heart kind of bleeds for them, and you kind of take inventory. This year it seems like we've lost so many good friends, people that have passed away, and people who literally made a impression on your heart. For me, one of those people was my daughter. She was actually my stepdaughter, but she was my stepdaughter for 48 years. So trust me, you forget the step part. And she died of COVID this year. And she was a real inspiration in many ways. She was all about being a stay-at-home mom. And I am proud of that. I go out, we meet new friends, and people will say, what do you do? And the husband will say something. And then the wife will say, well, I'm a stay-at-home mom. Hallelujah, Mom. If you can afford to do that, do it. If you're going to raise children in this day and age, we need every positive input we can get. And some moms do that homeschooling. Oh, man, that is hard work to stay up on that. Or they volunteer at a private school so their kids can afford to go to a private school. And all of those things are real factors. But I look back at the people that touched my life this last year, and there have been many people that have done that, and people who inspired me on. This was for million kids, and those of you who are new to this show, our show is brought to you by an organization called millionkids.org, MILLION, millionkids.org. I get a lot of razzing because can't even say the name of my company, but it is a nonprofit. By the way, it is not too late to donate. You've still got several hours that you can cut out a check there and get a discount on your tax bill, which is sure to be painful next year from everything that we see. So if you want to donate to Million Kids before midnight tonight, simply go to millionkids.org and hit that donate button, or get a check in the mail to us at P.O. Box 7295, Riverside 92513. All of that is at millionkids.org. But this year, we fought long and hard for several things. One, as most of you know, California, and actually happened in 2021, a bill was approved by the House and the Senate, by the Assembly, called SB 357. And that bill kicks in tomorrow, January 1st of 2023. And that bill says that law enforcement can no longer intervene if you're loitering for soliciting for street prostitution. So I used up most of 2022 fighting that bill. It actually passed in 2021, but wasn't sent to the governor until after the recall election and after the first primary election. And I found that quite fascinating. I never really have seen bills that sat on a particular lawmaker's desk for 9 months until after critical elections. So that tells you how they feel about that bill. because otherwise they would have been, howling and crowing up there on Capitol Hill in Sacramento how good this bill was. But no, they quietly slipped that thing through when we were all asleep. So I spent much of my year combating SB 357. Some of the good things that happened in 2022 was that our movie was released. And the movie is called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. That's a combination of the word sex and extortion. Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. It is available now at almost all your big streamers. Couldn't come up with it a minute. You can download it. It runs about $9.95. I highly recommend that you see it and get your family to see it, get your children, your grandchildren, get your school to see it. We actually were very, very blessed in that we were able to raise the funding. Thank you to all of you that helped me do that and helped me and kids do that, because we were able to take that funding and use it to edit that film into 10-minute segments so that it could be shown in school classrooms across America. We work with National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That's the old John Walsh, America's Most Wanted folks. And now they are a massive organization, but they have contracts all across the nation with schools for internet safety programs. And our program was instituted, it's a better word, into that program. Now, it cost us a lot of money to make that happen, but you came forward and just about put us on our knees financially, but we committed to it and we were making that happen. And that is happening as we speak. We were notified about a week ago that film is in the running for an Oscar. Now, I don't know. I'm always a skeptic. I never did it to be famous or have the people be famous. I want that movie to be seen in every household in California, every household in the United States, and every school classroom of anybody that is, say, 5th grade and above. Although if you're on social media, you better see that regardless of how old you are. So it's called Sextortion, The Hidden Pandemic. And it was released in 2022. So what a great time that was. You folks made this happen. I spent 6 years trying to raise that money. And I went through it after I lost my husband and I was a widow. And there were days I beat my head against a wall and I thought, we're never going to be able to come up with the funding to do that. But a group called Giving University came along and partnered with us. It costs a lot of money to make a real film. I didn't want a Mickey Mouse little documentary that is never seen by anybody. I wanted to be fast, I wanted to be engaging, and I wanted to get everyone's attention. We have had so much happen in the world of sextortion. I'm going to talk about that later. There's so many things happening that movie is absolutely critical. Another thing that happened in 2022 is that Chad Bianco, our sheriff, and I am the training and outreach coordinator for the Riverside County Anti-Human Trafficking Task Force. And our sheriff, Chad Bianco, actually made sure that we had enough funding for that human trafficking task force. That is just so important. If they're going to make it so law enforcement cannot intervene in street prostitution, we need to be able to do everything we can to convince, especially our young girls, not to get caught up into that. It doesn't authorize it's only for adult prostitution, but it is very difficult for someone to tell the difference between a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old. On top of it, our communities are being flooded with individuals coming up from thousands of different countries, crossing our border and living in our community. And many of them are very fine people, but they owe money to a coyote. And we need to be able to protect them from being trafficked, because now that it's easy to loiter, to solicit for street prostitution, many of the people who owe money to a coyote will not be out selling you flowers and oranges, but rather be selling themselves. And I believe this is a scary, scary time in America and especially in California. And that's the reason why I so much appreciate each and every one of you that have come forward in 2022 and gave your donation. And it is not too late to do that at millionkids.org so that we can gear up for 2023. This is going to be a really challenging year that we're headed into. My name is Opal Singleton. I am the host of this show, and we're coming back in just a couple of minutes. We're up against that break. Be right back.
Are you tired of eating at the same old restaurants? Let me tell you about a fabulous Italian restaurant we found in Riverside, Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant. Their caprese salad is exquisite with candied balsamic glaze. All of their sauces are special recipes using only the best olive oils. The salads are fresh and healthy. They offer a wonderful array of pastas, including shrimp scampi, capellini, bolognese, and lasagna. They're famous for their gourmet pizza, and you can order online for takeout or have a special date for dining in with family and friends. Mamma Mia's caters special occasions and hosts private events. You have to try it out. Mamma Mia's Italian Restaurant, located at 10971 Magnolia Avenue in Riverside, 1 block north of La Sierra on Magnolia. That's Mamma Mia's in Riverside. Be sure to tell Michael, Alex, or Joseph you heard it on AM 590 The Answer.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of millionkids.org. I believe the 4 most powerful words on earth are I believe in you. So we created a challenge coin that says, I believe in you on one side and stand tall, you are loved on the other side. This one-of-a-kind challenge coin is a perfect gift for birthdays, anniversaries, graduation, Christmas presents, or just an anytime gift for someone you love. What a powerful message for a parent or a grandparent to give to a young person. This 2-inch coin is made of polished gold. It's striking to look at, and it is priceless to hold. It is packaged in a beautiful black velvet gift box. What a great way to leave a legacy of love that will last forever. To purchase this coin, go to millionkids.org/gallery. Each coin is $25. Go to millionkids.org/gallery to purchase and give a legacy of love.
Real estate sales in the Inland Empire are really hot. Sellers and buyers recognize that these low interest rates will not last. Sean and Colleen at Caldwell Banker Armstrong Properties in Riverside are proud to sponsor this show. They are the best in the Inland Empire. They're fair, honest, creative, and they care about you and your situation. If you're in the market to buy or sell a home, call Sean and Colleen at 951-529-4066.
AM 590, The Answer.
Hello, and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, your host. So one of the things that happened in 2019, 2020, as we went through COVID, and I was so grateful in 2022 when they finally got rid of those masks and we could go out to dinner and we could put our children back in school. You see, during that time of the lockdown, we saw a massive increase in the number of kids that, number one, sent a lewd or erotic photo to somebody thinking they're either going to be a TikTok star or maybe they're going to be an amateur pornography star. You may have heard that Pornhub, and by the way, they just caught that guy, the guy from San Diego that did Girls Do Porn. He had trapped in a lot of young people, allegedly. Okay, he hasn't been actually convicted yet, but the allegations are that he would lure in young girls thinking that they're going to make a movie and they're going to be a star and they're going to make a lot of money, but that movie wasn't really going to be seen by a lot of people. Now, I don't know how you convince somebody that they're going to make a lot of money if nobody's going to see your film, because they tell you both sides of that as they're trying to lure you in. Anyway, for the last about 18 months, I think it is, they've been looking for this fella out of San Diego who was actually, they thought he was in New Zealand, and I think they found him. I can't remember where they found him, but some far off foreign land, and they brought him back. But during that time, they, in 1 year, had listed over 9 million porn videos of kids that were under the age of 18. Now, how did they get those videos? Well, They told our kids with an 18-step program how they could make $40,000 a week, and it's only going to be shown in some little island off Australia or some other nonsense. And our kids fell for it. And they began to get violated because guess what? You don't get those photos and have them buried in some island in Australia. They go out into the dark net to large-scale child pornography rings, and they are often bought, sold, and traded, amongst more than 1 million pedophiles. And your life will never be the same. And it was that simple. At the same time that was happening, we're putting our kids on younger and younger, especially during this lockdown. I see little kids on there and they just giggle and laugh, and they think they're so sophisticated, and they are cute as a bug. They are. But their lives will change forever, because what happens is little kids don't understand what a dark web pedophile ring looks like and why somebody wants that little photo. And all they can really think about is how good they are with technology and how much they want to impress some guy on the other end. And that is how it goes. So what we began to see over the 2020-21 is a huge increase in blackmail online. And that is why I wanted the movie. When we first started this movie activity, it was back in 2016, actually, before my previous husband passed away. And, we would get these cases of individuals. And a lot of times they're like a 11-year-old kid or maybe a 13-year-old boy that's been caught up in an online video game chat room, and that he forgets that camera works both ways. But they would be that style of thing. And as I would sit with the parents and try to work through this situation, or train school officials and school resource officers, of which I've now trained more than 500,000 of them. Anyway, but we would talk about, how do we fix this? How do you convince a kid where that photo goes? And how do you educate them? You see, parents all over the world are putting their kids online, but they themselves don't know how the internet's made. And, who wants those photos and why they're after them from our kid. And more importantly, where that photo is going to go when you hit send. And so this just became madness. In 2021, at the end of the year, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children said that they had taken more than 29.3 million reports of potential child exploitation or online nude photo exchanges. 29.3 million. You talk about something that is just staggering to me, and what most of us don't want to look at. And it makes for terrible dinner conversation. Nobody wants to hear what I do for a living at dinner, I guarantee you. But what they don't want to look at is every time one of those children or a teenager sends a photo and that they get blackmail, it changes who they are for the rest of their life. And it is a huge emotional pandemic taking place around our world in ways that nobody is talking about. And that is why I wanted to make this movie. Well, many of you came forward, you donated, we made the movie. We went with Auroras Media, that is Stephen and Maria Peak. They are incredibly fine individuals who have children of their own. They had never heard of Sextortion when we started in 2019. We got the money together and flew back during the heart of COVID and spent 5 days educating them about how to go about combating this. As it turned out, they met a judge that had handled a case about a gentleman called Daniel Harris. Daniel Harris is a very good-looking man. He had everything going for him. And by the way, this is very typical of these kinds of predators. He was married. He had a beautiful wife, long blonde hair, slender, 2 beautiful children. And he was at the top of his game. He was a Top Gun pilot who was flying all over the world. And he actually was sextorting blackmailing, luring in, grooming, and seducing 14-year-old girls everywhere he went. And the case actually started in Tokyo with the daughter of an American person assigned to Tokyo. But as the case developed, it turned out that he had victims all over the world. And so this story that you see, the hidden pandemic, Sextortion, the hidden pandemic, starts off with all that investigation, how they deducted it, what they did, how they interviewed the people, how they interviewed the girl. By the way, the girls that are very young in this case, they're like 13, 14 years old. We didn't want to show their faces. So we had people from the Ukraine, even before the Ukraine war started, people from the Ukraine did the drawings where they show the courtroom scenes so that we don't have to actually expose the victim themselves. But what happened is that it shows the whole case of how he got charged. He got 50 years. And it turned out of all the different victims that he had. The film also interviews a girl by the name of Sierra, and she's now about 18, I think, 18 or 19, but she was sextorted for 2.5 years. And, you know, these people just drove her crazy. They showed her a picture of her mom. They showed her pictures of her house from Google Maps. They knew where their mom lived. And they're demanding all kinds of things from her, for her to do all kinds of erotic sexual photos, or she would be destroyed at school. When she finally gave in and asked for help, and it was more than a year before she did that, she found out that she was actually being blackmailed by 12 different pedophiles, all pretending to be the same man. And that was one of the first inclinations that I had. And we have now seen several of those sextortion, I call them crowdsourcing rings. One of them had 9 people. One of them had 29 people. In her case, they had 12. And the poor kid, you know, whether it's a girl or a guy, they're trying to keep these guys happy so their lives aren't ruined. And then they find out that they were actually being victimized by 12 different guys. Well, that's moved into a whole new trend that you have heard me talk about, but you may not have really processed what is happening. And that is that this is becoming extremely vicious to our children, to the point where they are taking their own lives. And this is where foreign telemarketing companies use their teenagers to blackmail our teenagers. And we are starting to see a whole new trend of kids that the parent has no idea this is happening. They have no understanding the child is in trouble. They like panic instantly, and especially young men. This is really tackling young men. And instead of wanting more photos now, they want like $5,000 or $8,000. And it's all about making money for Philippine cartels or Pakistani cartels, and especially out of the Ivory Coast. And they are so brutal. The kid is absolutely traumatized, and they never let on to the family that they are about to take their own life. My name is Opal Singleton. We're coming up against that break, so stay with me.
Societal Shift, A World Without Borders and a Home Without Walls. This is the most important book you will read this year, especially if you have children or grandchildren. We are living at the most important time in all of history. In 2020, the entire world will be connected by internet, more than 6 billion people coming together. Technology will provide many great advantages for our kids, but a world without borders for our kids is also a world without borders for pimps, predators, pedophiles, cartels, and organized crime. It is a home without walls because 87% of the kids sleep with their phone. It is the greatest societal experiment of all time. Our kids are technology geniuses, and their parents are technophobic. Some are techno-impotent. New apps come with no warnings on how a predator will use them against our kids. Advancing technologies like encrypted messaging, vaporware, artificial intelligence, cryptocurrency, and the dark net will challenge law enforcement, teachers, and parents to keep kids safe. Recent research states that 9,000 kids a day are being blackmailed with a naked photo, and 58% will meet their predator. It is indeed a societal shift, and one in which most parents are unprepared. If you are a parent or grandparent, teacher, counselor, or social worker, please take time to read Societal Shift. Only $18.99 plus $6 shipping. Order today at millionkids.org. That's millionkids, MILLIONKIDS.org. It'll be the greatest gift you can give your family and yourself. Order Societal Shift today. Million Kids takes checks and credit cards. Opal Singleton, the author, will personally sign the book and send it to you. Again, go to millionkids.org and order Societal Shift today. Join Million Kids. Keep our kids safe from predators.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. We're talking about the crime of sextortion because this next year we are really going to be challenged to take this on. And so I just want to remind you, since it's the end of the year, if you're looking to make a donation to an organization that makes a difference, just go to millionkids.org and you can do that. Well, I want to bring up something that is very, very sensitive and very difficult to talk about. But I want to talk about it because we cannot pretend this did not happen. And we need to be able to use this situation for good. And I know the family would want to do that. Last month, there was an absolute tragedy in Riverside. And there was a young girl, and my heart bleeds for this young girl. Her life will never be the same. And we need to put our arms around her and let her know that she's invaluable and that she's good and that maybe she made a mistake, but she's not the only one that made a mistake. But this particular mistake, the price was particularly high. No one could ever have foreseen this coming. But this is the reason why I double down on my commitment to talk about what nobody wants to hear about, and that is online exploitation. This is the case of the Wyneck family out of Riverside, and they had a young daughter. And like so many young girls, she's talking to somebody online, and she thinks it's somebody different than it is, and that's called catfishing. And this is the reason why Million Kids does what we do. Is that good English? Does what we do? I'm not sure. But this is why we get up every day, to help our kids understand how this works and to help them have the tools to be able to make good judgments. You see, whatever happened in this family is just so tragic. And by the way, the spokesperson of the family was Michelle Blandon. Oh, I so admire her. I do. She handled that interview just masterfully. What a fine family and a group of people these people are. But one of the things that I do each day is I want parents and grandparents, I want Sunday school teachers, I want regular teachers, I want us all to stop in our tracks and take a look at the crime of sextortion. We hear about it in passing and we go, oh, that's awful. And then when it's particularly egregious, as it was in the Wyneck family, we do stop for a while. But then we say to ourselves, well, that probably doesn't have anything to do with me. If that case takes place and people don't stop and listen, it will be a real tragedy all the way around. This young girl was talking to someone she thought was about a little older than herself, okay? Well, he turns out to be, I think, 28. I can't remember. Anyway, he was actually a cop back in Virginia. And, people ask me, who is doing this? Well, Top Gun pilots do it, and cops do it, and so do fire department people, so do teachers, all kind of engineers. I mean, there is no limit to who these people are. So while law enforcement works on combating the actual pedophile, what Million Kids is committed to do is to help you, mom and dad, and the teenager and the preteen, if they're using a phone, understand how the world of the internet is made and what's going to happen when you send a photo to someone you don't know. My goal is to get it so that you will never, ever, ever, ever send an erotic photo that can be used against you. Even the regular photos, so many times they cut the head off them and put on somebody else's body. But what happens here is that the catfishing, and I call it grooming, it looks like your new best friend. And I spend a lot of time working with kids to say, listen up here. You're talking to someone you don't know. You see, us as parents, we are putting our kids online without teaching them how to evaluate if it's a good relationship and can be trusted, or if it's a relationship that can't be trusted. You see, up till now, they lived amongst us, and we could look at them and we could go, oh, what a creep that is, But that is not true on the internet. You can pretend to look like anybody and be anything. And our kids want to be discovered and they want to make friends. So we have to start, especially if they're on an app like TikTok or Byte or Like or Kick or Omegle. God forbid they're on Omegle. I tell you, that's not good. But anyway, we need to give them tools to talk about who these guys are so that they can understand what they're up against. In the case of all these suicides, they're actually talking to people from the Ivory Coast who are absolutely ruthless, but they won't know that until it's too late. The first thing I share with kids is they will move you from one app to the other right off the bat. They're trying to determine, number one, if you're a cop, and number two, if you're willing to follow. They'll start saying things like, don't tell, or they'll start sending you a photo and they want you to send a photo back. They start doing all the question asking and you're doing all the answering. That means they know more about you than you know about them. They start making demands. That means it is no longer a relationship. You're in a negotiation and you're in a very dangerous place. Get help. And if we do nothing else, we need to be able to convince kids that if you have sent that photo, it can get very ruthless. Get help. Don't try to handle it yourself. Get help. And we need to start right now before you give anybody a phone, or if you have given a phone, sit and talk with them and say, look, there are trends out here that I'm going to show you, that we're going to go on Me and Kids and see these cases so that you know that if you get yourself in one of these places, I hope you don't, because I hope you're smart enough not to send that photo, okay? But if you do, I am right here with you. And it will be the hardest thing we ever do. Yes, guess what? You got to take that photo to the law enforcement because you're not the only victim. Most of these people have thousands of victims that they are trying to get money from, that are trying to destroy their lives. But what is new and different in the last 6 months is that these telemarketing rings out of the Philippines, out of Pakistan, out of Belize, out of the Ivory Coast are organized crime that your child is trying to stand against. And especially if you have a young man, because they panic. They don't know what to do. And I can give you case after case after case of kids, kids who lived in rural areas, can't say that word. Anyway, in country areas, okay? And these are kids who never did anything bad. Some of them are homecoming kings. Some of them are sports people. Most of them are good looking, and most of them smart as a whip. And not one of their parents knew their child was being blackmailed. They just panic and take their own life. We got to get in front of this, Mom and Dad. We need to force ourselves. This is not a fun conversation. It's kind of like that fentanyl conversation, but it is happening, and it is taking the best of our best. And we need to stand against it. And that is what we plan to do in 2023, is to start to go into the schools and teach the parents and teach the school resource officers, the teachers, how to talk about it. We need to look at this case, the case of the Wyneck family, where their grandmother and grandfather were murdered. The mother was murdered. I mean, it is absolutely tragic what that young victim experienced. And, she's no different than millions of other young people like herself, but her case ended up in the worst of the worst. And she needs our love. She needs our support. She needs our affection. But we also need to get out there quickly and educate moms and dads and parents and teens and grandparents how this works. This gets really ruthless in these cases. And I cannot think of anything more critical and more urgent right now than that. Because as our kids go online and literally 87% of kids sleep with their phone, that needs to stop right away. Hello. because they're accessing your child in their most vulnerable period. We also need to not be giving our prepubescent children phones where they can be reached through like TikTok and all these different dating sites and hookup sites. That is just like pouring gasoline on a fire when we put our kids out there on the front lines without them understanding what a pedophile is and what they're up against. You see, it's crazy to me that we have arrived at 2023 and we still have not really made it a priority to explain to our kids the world they're living in and who these people are and what they're going to do to them. And we've got to change that. As we look at this family here locally, as we look at all the cases that we cover at millionkids.org, this has got to change in 2023. You have the ability to help us if you want to. millionkids.org. This is Opal Singleton. Be right back. Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. I want to tell you about a book I wrote called Seduced, The Grooming of America's Teenagers. It's all about how predators access, groom, recruit, and exploit our young people using social media, online gaming, video chat rooms. Technology is changing at the speed of light, and we have to understand how to keep our kids safe from predators. So you can get this book by going to www.millionkids.org. It's $16. I'll sign it and I'll ship it to you personally. We hope that you will order this book, educate yourself about how to keep our kids safe in this day of changing technology. Join us each Saturday for our radio show at Exploited Crimes and Technology at 3 o'clock on AM 590. The Answer.
Custom Service Systems, a proud supporter of Million Kids, is a family-owned and operated commercial cleaning company servicing the Inland Empire and surrounding areas since 1974. CSS takes pride in their ability to maintain the business facilities they serve and their long-lasting relationships with their valued clients. CSS provides a variety of cleaning systems customized to client needs, including deep cleaning and disinfectant to be COVID-19 compliant. From basic office cleaning to windows and floors, CSS will clean up your mess so you don't have to stress. Custom Service Systems cares about families and communities and wants to give back. Custom Service Systems are proud supporters of Million Kids to keep kids safe from predators. If you need the best cleaning services for your business or corporation, contact Custom Service Systems at cssclean.com. Again, cssclean.com or call 951-781-9345. That's 951-781-9345. You will know you found the best. Custom Service Systems.
Hello, this is Opal Singleton of Exploited Crimes and Technology. Let me tell you about my friend Doris Anderson at Remax Realty in Upland. She is amazing. She's kind, she's patient, but she listens. And she's informed, and she will help you with your real estate transaction in a way that works for you. Doris, in full disclosure, often supports the work of Million Kids because she cares about young people. But she knows how to analyze a market, how to market a property, and how to find just the right transaction for both buyers and sellers. If you're looking to buy or sell real estate or invest in income property, contact Doris Anderson at Remax Realty 951-733-8899. That's 951-733-8899. 951-733-8899.
AM 590. The Answer.
Hello and welcome back to Exploited Crimes and Technology. This is Opal Singleton, and we are talking about the crime of sextortion, a heinous crime. So few people understand that that is a lifetime sentence for a victim of sextortion, that their life, maybe it is not as severe as what the Wyneck family went through, but their life will be held hostage the minute they send that photo. I always share with kids that, you never want to send a photo online that you wouldn't show to your grandma. It's that simple, and I know that's corny. I don't apologize. But what you're doing is increasing your odds of putting yourself in danger whenever you do that. and send that photo, because you don't know where that photo is going to go and what they're going to do. You know, this has grown from being individuals such as Daniel Harris to literally being groups of people such as happened to Sierra, to literally being overseas telemarketing centers. You see, I wrote a book about this, by the way. It's called Societal Shift: A World Without Borders, A Home Without Walls. And you can buy it at millionkids.org, or you can buy it at amazon.com. I'll sign it, and it'll do more to support our work if you buy it from millionkids.org. I'll sign it and ship it to you myself. But the idea of societal shift is that literally over the last 10 years, we have seen a major shift as young people went online, and we went from having just Facebook, with 40 or 50 people, most of them that you're talking to. But when you get into mass audience live streaming, let's talk about Fortnite. Fortnite, clear back in 2019, ran the Marshmallow concert. It had 11 million players. You're not going to know who those 11 million are. And I'm going to guarantee you that probably 1% of them, over a million, have bad intentions. And so if we put our kids in that environment, we need to help them with the math. And we need to help them understand why they want that photo and what's going to happen. In the telemarketing centers, this has become possible because places like in Pakistan and especially the Ivory Coast, they're just now getting technology. And their young people want to be online as much as our kids do. And they're very, very poor kids. So they're brought in from rural areas, there's that word again, country areas, and they are put online and they are told they can make a lot of money. And so what they do is they start out by trapping our kids, looking like a hot 14-year-old girl or guy and getting a photo sent, and then it becomes absolutely ruthless. And they have all kinds of, it's like any other telemarketing scam. They absolutely won't quit until they make your life living hell. And these kids are absolutely panicked. I know, I did an insider alert. By the way, Million Kids does insider alerts. You can sign up for them at millionkids.org. And that's where I analyze cases. And I did one just on teen suicide. I may rerun that, actually, because there's no use making a new one. It's tragic enough and people need to see it. But as you looked at these kids, I mean, they suddenly had to come up with $3,500. And, these are great kids, and they had no way. Some of them actually came up with $250 or $300, but they don't have access to $3,000. One cleaned out his college account thinking that he could get it replaced without his folks knowing. And in every one of those cases, the brutality from those telemarketing companies overseas, and they won't even realize. One girl was 18 years old. She was a straight A student in a justice program at a private college. And she actually wrote a note to her parents apologizing that she had failed them. And many of these kids either go out and meet up with the person, as what started to happen with Wynette. Whether or not she knew that he was coming is a whole nother thing, so we don't want to put that on her. But what we do know is many of our young people, in fact, the number is 57% of young people, will sneak out of the house to meet up with the pedophile to negotiate back the return of the photo. And then they get themselves in trouble. And so this becomes an absolute nightmare for a young person. Number one, they panic. They are just in an absolute panic. And then they feel they have disappointed their family, and they feel like they're going to be ruined at school. We need to get the education out there. First of all, that if you're being sextorted, don't ruin each other at school. Don't bully, don't put them down. In fact, help them find the person that's doing it, because you might be next. And that's part of it. They need to be able to come and report. And then we need to train adults, whether it's you, whether it's me, or whether it's a school resource officer or a pastor, that if someone comes to you and says, I'm in trouble because I've done a dumb thing, we don't look at them and go, what the heck were you thinking? We stand with them and we understand the depth of their loss. and their panic so that they themselves can get assistance, and they will come out being a leader where they can teach other kids. There is no need to have the crime of sextortion. If we can teach our kids not to participate, that crime no longer works. It's that simple. It isn't like it has to be. Well, we're coming to the end of the year, folks, with a lot of melancholy. I've lost some really good friends this year and some family. People who mean a lot to me. People who were good mothers and good people and good parents and good grandparents. And I look at it and I say, some days I look at it and I go, what is the use? Can we beat this? Yes, we can beat this. If we all work together in 2023, we've got the movie in the can. Show it, everybody. I don't care about an Oscar. I mean, if we get one, that's wonderful. More people will see it. But that is not my goal. My goal is to keep our kids safe from predators. And in order to do that, they need to understand the problem. So I would encourage each and every one of you to go. I know it's on Amazon, and I'm not fond of Amazon, but I also ordered there. It's on Amazon, it's iTunes. You can find out all the places it is by Googling sextortionfilm.com, and it'll show you all the places that you can download it. If you have a small book club, take a week off and share the movie to your book club. If you have, and even if it's grandparents, share that movie so that they can see it. If you have a sorority or a Serotimus or a Rotary or a church or any kind of group that you can, put it together. Neighborhood Watch, show that film because it's taking place in your communities. It's taking place all over the world. We really have to get that movie out there. And you can learn all about this crime. You can follow us on Facebook at Million Kids. I have a private Facebook group. If you want to join that, go to Million Kids Supporters on Facebook, and I analyze cases out there. But sign up for our newsletter at millionkids.org because we do e-blasts of cases, and we post them on Facebook. And then Million Kids Insider Alerts is where I do a short video, about 5 or 10 minutes about particular videos. So there are many ways. We have many tools to educate, and especially about the Sextortion film. That is an important message to get out there. It is an intriguing film. I guarantee you'll be spellbound while you watch it. And I think it'll be very, very important. Well, we're closing out the year, folks, and I'm not going to quit until I make one good appeal to you. If you're a person that does tax write-offs at the end of the year and you want to make a donation to an organization, we are small but mighty. We are a Gold Star Guide Star company. We've been around for 15 years. We have a nonprofit. We are a nonprofit organization. We're a 501c3 so that you can write off your donation. And you can do that either by going to millionkids.org and putting on your credit card right there. And it's got our P.O. box right on it. I go down that P.O. box myself and pick up those checks and see it. And I see each of the online donations, and they mean the absolute world to me. We can't do this without you. We are not, a big mega Red Cross type organization with a lot of overhead. We are bare bones company that gets out there and works with kids and educates parents and kids. And every time we get our hands on money, it goes to things like Sextortion film. So, we believe with all our heart that kids do not have to be exploited if we can convince them of how it works. I'm going to ask you to say prayers for the Wyneck family this season. They're wonderful people. Michelle Blandon did a tremendous job, and they need our love and our support in there. But the same thing for your family, too, your kids and your grandkids. Val, this year is the year you're going to learn it, and they're going to learn it. Thank you so much for each and every one of you that follow Million Kids and then follow this radio show. You mean the absolute world to me. You folks put your arms around your family, your kids, your spouse. Let them know you love them. And Happy New Year. See you next year.
This message is all about Million Kids, the organization that helps locate missing kids throughout Southern California and educates to keep kids safe from predators. Million Kids educates school administrators, teachers, parents, and teenagers how predators identify a potential victim and the methods they use to recruit innocent kids. BMW of Riverside is a proud supporter of Million Kids. Visit BMW of Riverside at the Adams Street exit off the 91 freeway or click bmwofriverside.com.